This game was Thalia and the Gitrog Monster. Me, Howard, on Thalia and the Gitrog Monster. And Dante playing Urza, Lord High Artificer.
All right, what up, guys? Yeah, here we have for you today a quick playtest game. Thalia in the Gitrog Monster versus Urza, Lord High Artificer. Now, Thalia in the Gitrog Monster is not out yet, but we thought it'd be a good idea to bring it to you guys, see some of the play testing going on, and see how it interacts with the full control deck. In case any of you guys are wondering, Thalia in the Gitrog Monster is built as a stacks deck, and Urza is built as a control deck with a combo finish. So as you can see, we are deciding who's going first right here. Heads or tails? It looks like it's going to be tails, which means Urza will be on the play. These guys are going to get their hands together, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, this game was a little rough. I think you mulled down to 5 or 6 in this game?
I mulled down to 5 in this game.
Yeah, that was a little rough. So,
was I on the play, or were you on the play?
We'll find out in a second.
Yeah, we're going to find out in a second. I believe I was on the play. I know Thalia, Howard, did keep his first hand, so yeah, he is on hands. 7. Or it looks like he's mulling right here. Is it second 7?
I think we get to second 7.
In case you guys are new to the format, we are playing OP Face-Off is what we're calling it right now. But this is a 1v1 commander format with a multiplayer ban list. So 1v1 has its own ban list. This is going to be a little bit of a different format. So we are playing multiplayer ban list.
Yep.
Heads up match. We call it OP Face-Off.
Yeah. So still same rules, 40 life, 21 commander damage as your typical CEDH that everybody knows. We get to do all the cool stuff that everybody loves to do in CEDH with none of the downsides. Yeah.
One of the cool things to note is at this store, Outer Plains, which is where we get the OP from, every month at this store we actually do hold a tournament with these rules. So it's not just some made-up format that we sometimes play in the back room. Even though we do have backroom brawls, this is an actual format that gets played competitively with a judge once a month. We do have standings, and it is a really fun format. In case you guys have never tried it before, I would definitely recommend giving it a shot. This time I ended up mulliganing a total of 4 times.
4 times?
4 times to get down to 5.
So he sculpted his hand.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see what we get to keep here. We do like to show the cards and spells. I am liking how we're seeing all of this. It doesn't look like there's much glare on either of our cards,
yeah, no,
which is really nice.
This view's pretty good. See if we can keep this.
I can tell you I'm not keeping
a little bit here.
Am I keeping? Is this the hand that? Nope. Straight back. Zero lands.
Zero
lands. I remember this now. It's all coming back to me. Yeah, I was like, okay, we're definitely going to be losing this one. Now, we normally do play best 2 out of 3. We are getting used to the video editing process, so we're just going to start you guys off with one game today. But it is a super exciting one. It gets to show the power of both decks, kind of what they like to do, and it's quite fun.
Yeah, it's actually for the game. It was a lot of interaction for 5 cards versus 7. Like it was a good series.
We won't give away who wins yet, but like I said, it is a battle for sure. All right, here we go. I think this is the hand that I keep, and so we can see here.
Oh no, I actually was on the play on this game.
Oh, and you were on the play?
Yeah.
This is the hand we keep, as you can see there. I do have. Okay, so I end up
keeping.
I remember bottoming a Trinisphere and a Fierce Guardianship.
Okay.
And I ended up keeping. All right, looks like you kept a.
So yeah, I kept the Bayou, Mana Crypt, Necropotence. We had Crucible, and I think it was 2 other lands, if I'm not mistaken.
Awesome. Yeah, we kept a Ponder, which is very good for mulling down to 5. We kept a Cyclonic Rift, which I know from playing this stacks deck is a really good piece to have, which is really good when mulling down to 5. And I also kept a Cyclonic Rift, which is also really important when you're playing against a stacks deck. I know from playing in the past that this deck does like to stop me from comboing off, and I normally do need to bounce at least 1 permanent in order to get the combo to go off. We also kept 3 lands, including an Urza Saga, which is a very, very good card to have in the situation of mulling down to 5. So looks like turn 1, we're getting a Crucible of Worlds out on the battlefield.
Yep, so we just selected right here. This is one of the reasons I kept the hand, was Crucible of Worlds with Thalia and the Gitrog Monster, being able to play additional lands per turn. I get to play 2 lands per turn if she's out there. Having Crucible online and being able to play Crucible before he has mana available that's really the play that we got to go for. So yeah, there was not really any question playing this here. I also remember my other card, so I had 3 lands here. We had Mana Crypt, we had Crucible, Necropotence, and we had a Ravages of War to start the game. So our whole objective was just to get around the counter spells and blow up the lands, and then see if we can profit off the Crucible if it makes it that far. So,
yep, I'm going to pop that Polluted Delta and go get an island. We're going to tap this island and, of course, do the turn 1 play. Part of the reason we kept the hand was because of the Ponder. We're going to be able to see quite a few cards here and hopefully get what we need to make a stand. Seeing a Crucible of Worlds on turn 1 against Thalia is a huge alarms going off in my head. We're expecting a Strip Mine. We're expecting a Wasteland, which is something that this deck does play because it has the value of playing an extra land each turn. So, I don't remember exactly what we're staring down here. Hopefully I show the camera I can see a Merchant Scroll, and we end up drawing a Sensei's Divining Top, which is a lovely, lovely thing to draw when you're down to 5. Again, this is the perfect hand to be down to 5 on. Yeah. We're able to see a bunch of cards with Ponder, and we're able to get that card advantage as well through Sensei's Divining Top, just kind of reshaping the top of our deck.
Yeah, I don't remember what I drew here. We've ended up playing the Triumph tapped, so we didn't draw another land. I remember that being a thing, was I had the Triumph, so it kind of stifled our turn a little bit.
Okay, so we set it up. We have, it looks like an Ancient, we set it up with Sensei on top, Ancient Tomb, and then right under that we had the Merchant Scroll. That's how we set up our Ponder. Ended up drawing the Ancient Tomb. We're going to play the Urza Saga. It goes to 1, tap that for the colorless, and go ahead and slam a Sensei's. Leave 1 mana up. Let's do a Crypt Trigger.
Yep.
And we're going to lose those 3 life.
So then I'm just going into this turn. I know I have the Ravages of War. I'm a little scared because he leaves the mana up. And I think we just land pass here. Is that what ends up happening? Oh, we play the Blind Obedience. Blind Obedience ended up being a really good card in this matchup. All his artifacts and creatures come in tapped. Super good card against Urza. When you cast the Urza, it's going to come in tapped. It's going to also make the construct come in tapped. Feels really good when that Urza player can't profit off of that extra blue mana basically they get for the artifact coming online. So that was a hugely valued piece there.
And this is exactly why we kept the Cyclonic Rift, because we know we're at least going to have to bounce normally 1 permanent in order to make our combo go off, and Blind Obedience is that 1 permanent that we are going to have to bounce if we ever want a combo. So we go ahead and play the Ancient Tomb, which turns on our Urza Saga on Chapter 2 here. Making a dude is a really, really strong thing for us in this scenario. Getting some power on board is something we like to do. But that artifact is going to come in tapped due to Blind Obedience. All right, looks like we're tapping for 4, and we're going to get Thalia out.
Indeed. So at this point, I just assume that he's going to have a counter spell. We were trying to bait it out. So I'm banking on the Ravages of War being our power play, so we just throw out the Thalia.
And this is where the match starts going really well for us, because we do have the counterspell, the perfect counterspell that allows us to still activate Urza's Saga. This is the only counterspell that is going to get that creature and be able to allow us to activate the Urza Saga as well. So Wash Away is really, really strong counterspell, guys. Never to be underestimated there. We're going to activate the Urza Saga 1 more time. Construct comes in tap due to Blind Obedience, and then we're going to fetch with the Urza Saga. Did I take the extra 2 damage? It looks like we might have missed another 2 damage on the Ancient Tomb. I'm just noticing now. We're going to grab a Soul Ring, tap the Soul Ring. Oh, enters the battlefield tap due to Blind Obedience. Again, you can see right off the bat how strong this singular enchantment is against an artifact deck.
Tons of value. Loving this card right now, especially in our format where, since we're not playing Dual Commander, it's basically part of the standard ramp package to be running all of the artifact ramp you can. Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt. So even if they're not abusing artifacts like Urza, the odds are you're going to see a lot of value out of this card. And if it's Dorks, hits the same too. People trying to do Haste Enablers and Mana Dorks, like this Blind Obedience is a go-to card at the moment.
It's just a matter of...
We're going to spin the top on our turn, and we're going to see a Proteus Staff on top, and already we're starting to count. We know we have the Cyclonic Rift in hand. We know we have Urza next turn. Proteus Staff is a part of our combo because we are playing a polymorph version of this deck where we like to get Hullbreaker Horror. We're going to play a land for turn, knowing that we have that Proteus Staff on top, and we're already starting to set up. We're going to swing in for 3 total damage, and we are going to try to set this up. We know Blind Obedience is there, but we have a way to bounce it to his hand. So we're already asking ourselves, how are we going to win?
Yep. At this point, we're sweating a little bit. We haven't drawn any lands. We know that he probably still has a counterspell. We go for the Toxic Deluge over the top, just see if we can wipe the board.
Toxic Deluge, of course, we don't like to see it. We were using those constructs as mana pips. We were counting those when we were thinking about, because when Urza comes out, those are going to tap for mana. So part of what we were thinking about when we saw that Proteus staff was, okay, we're going to have those 2 mana. I'm going to spin one more time just to make sure you got it, guys. If you have the extra mana, never hurts unless you remember exactly what's up there. We're feeling pretty safe. We're going to untap. We're still going to rip this Proteus staff because we're still feeling okay about this. And if I do remember correctly, we still jam Urza.
Pretty sure we jam Urza here.
We're going to get that Flooded Strand out. Jam Urza. It comes in tapped along. It's creatures and artifacts, right?
Yeah, creatures and artifacts.
And then we take 2 life, and we pop the Proteus staff as well. Tapping the... Oh, yeah, we tap the Sensei's Divining Top for the extra mana to get the Proteus staff out. Now we're counting, and we're thinking to ourselves, how much mana is it going to take to bounce Blind Obedience, activate Proteus staff, and... Oh, Hullbreaker. Oh, okay, this is, remember, Grief comes out.
This is where we played the Grief. We end up getting it out just to make sure that those last 2 spells are not counter spells. If it is one, it's going to be there.
And this is where I think Howard makes the biggest mistake of the game. He actually decides not to take the Cyclonic Rift and instead take the Fierce Guardianship. Now, Fierce Guardianship is really scary when Urza's on the battlefield, and I think the reason you end up taking Fierce Guardianship is because of what you have in your hand.
We know that we don't necessarily insta-lose because he still needs a 0-drop to be able to activate it. I make a grave misplay here and think that he can't do the thing with the Soul Ring, which is me not knowing the matchup well enough. But
not counting, I think. You're not, not going through the math, but you are right. You had your alarm up trying to think, okay, he does need another 0-drop. And due to the fact that you do have that spell in your hand, I think it's Armageddon that's coming out in just a moment, but I think
Armageddon.
Yeah, I think that card is dead in your hand unless you take Fierce Guardianship. So I actually, I don't think it's as bad of a mistake as I originally made it out to be, but let's see what happens here. It's interesting to know what happens.
So
we do end up jamming the Armageddon, and I think, again, in this case, with Fierce Guardianship in my hand, that card's dead. You can't do what you wanted to do, but with it out of my hand, I think this is okay. Obviously, we don't crack the land because we're thinking in our head we don't want to thin our deck out of lands. At this point, we're thinking we may need to draw them. So we do not pop the land before, and we are stuck with a Soul Ring, a Construct, a Sensei's, and a Proteus Staff with Urza on board, a total of 5 mana.
And then at this point, I'm just trying to race to rebuild.
I draw the card for turn, and I am counting. I remember specifically, okay, what do I need to do? With Soul Ring and Sensei's Divining Top in play, those are 2 artifacts that will make Hullbreaker go off because we are net positive on mana, netting 1 from Soul Ring and being able to cast it again, and then obviously Sensei's Divining Top just goes with itself. It is 1 and it taps for 1. So if we can get rid of this Blind Obedience, we do have infinite mana with Hullbreaker Horror on field.
And knowing that he has a Cyclonic Rift in hand, right? And we know that he only has the mana here because we have to count as blue and the 2 colorless to bounce one of these permanents. And then I have the mana with the Mana Crypt and the land in hand to be able to play either one of them. If you were to bounce the Crucible, I just slam the Crucible again, and he still has to deal with Blind Obedience. So I'm also just presenting with a choice, see if he makes the right one.
And we are thinking hard here because the question is, are we going to go for this? Now, normally, Urza players, what they're going to like to do is try to go infinite the turn they get Hullbreaker Horror on field, but I decide that, no, we're going to need to do this right now. We're not going to have time to build up our mana base. Let's just go for it and see what happens. So we are going to activate Proteus Staff, which puts the token on the bottom of our library. Then we reveal cards from the top of our library until we reveal a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and then the rest of the cards are going to go in any order in the bottom of my library. We only run 1 creature in the whole library. So we're going to find that Hullbreaker Horror.
It's not Prismatic Vista, spoiler alert.
There it is.
There she is.
Hullbreaker Horror to the battlefield. All these cards are going to go onto the bottom of my library in any order.
And then, just organizing the bottom of the library.
Now we know in our head. Oh, he enters the battlefield tapped due to blind obedience.
Indeed. Constantly taxing the board.
Play an Odawara for turn.
Oh, that's right.
And then now what we do is, because we know we're going to get a trigger, we cast the Hullbreaker Horror, we cast the Cyclonic Rift, which triggers the Hullbreaker Horror, returning both to his hand. Now I know that I can do the combo. All Hullbreaker has to do is survive one turn. And I decided to roll the dice on this one because I thought to myself, you know, we're not going to be able to build our land base back up. We got to just go for it. So Hullbreaker's out there. My defenses are down. I'm fully tapped out. And I don't believe I have any cards in my hand either.
No.
I don't have any cards in my hand.
So we have to just play the Blind Obedience because we know that there's very limited things for him to be able to play.
And I remember here specifically, we untap. We do upkeep, but before we draw, we activate Sensei's Dividing Top, getting it back off of the battlefield because we need to cast it, and we luckily did get a castable Mystical Tutor off the top of our library to bounce the Blind Obedience, get Sensei's down, and start the loop of Hullbreaker Horror.
Indeed.
So let's see it happen right here. Swing in for combat. Pay 1. Cast Sensei's Dividing Top. Trigger Hullbreaker Horror and return Blind Obedience. Then tap. Oh, Sensei enters the battlefield tapped. And then we tap for blue mana. Cast Mystical Tutor. Trigger Hullbreaker Horror. Return Soul Ring and float 2 mana. And that is going to start the loop. Because then we have 2 mana floating. We cast Soul Ring. That bounces Sensei's Dividing Top. This is net positive mana. And then it's net positive blue mana. And we're going to cast our library with Urza. And in this particular deck, the combo is to get Rings of Brightheart, Voltaic Key, and Codex Shredder, mill him out, and make him draw 2 with Archmage's Charm. That's the game, guys, and that is OP Face-Off. You can see very interactive, very fun games. An absolute blast we have, Backroom Brawls. And if you guys want some more, make sure you check us out. We will be uploading these nearly daily with different decks, top-tier decks. That's all we play with. If you guys want to see the power, you know you want to watch OP Face-Off. We'll see you next time.